My experience in combat control training, Chapter 5, Another Setback. I had broken my tibia in my left leg. As I sat in an old Army hospital on the base, one that reminded me of the hospitals in the Vietnam era, I had nothing but time to dwell on what happened. I should have pulled my slip sooner, and I should have kept my feet and knees together while I fell out of the tree. I couldn't seem to catch a break. First, a stupid fight in the middle of San Antonio, and then I broke my leg. I couldn't seem to get my act together. The instructors would probably think I was too much of a pain to keep in the pipeline. Oh well, at least I tried, I thought. At least I had the courage to try. It didn't help me much. As I waited in the old hospital room alone, I fell into a bit of a depression. I was going to go back to Lackland injured. The best case scenario was I would wait around for months at the schoolhouse, get out of shape, and wait for another class to come through. I rehearsed my plea to the instructors to keep me in the pipeline. I looked down at the boot of my leg and the crutches to my right, and I prepared myself for the torture of the upcoming months. Through all the frustration and hopeless thoughts, I had a drive to heal as fast as I could. I only hoped the instructors back in Texas would be convinced of how dedicated I was to keep going. As I stood in the instructor's office in the back of the small combat control building, I saw their desk with family pictures, making them seem like normal people. I almost felt ashamed for getting hurt. "Old MacDonald, why didn't you keep your feet and knees together?" Sergeant Priorenti asked me. I couldn't tell if he thought I was an idiot or if he was disappointed about my injury. Maybe he was both. Sergeant Sampson walked over with a smirk on his face, eyeing the boot of my leg. He laughed and said, "You're going to have fun answering the phones at the front desk." I responded, "Hoo-yah!" Sergeant Sullivan looked at me with his normal face that showed no emotion. Then he said, "You're going to have to stay in shape and start with a new class when you're healed. Don't get soft on us. You're going to report to the schoolhouse every day answering phones and cleaning." "Hoo-yah!" I responded. I went straight to the desk, a place I hated. I could not stand office work, but at least I was still in training. I saw a few classes come and go. As I sat around the barracks feeling sorry for myself, I eventually met a washout with the name Perkins stenciled across his shirt. He had quit during the orientation like most guys did. To me, he had a funny look. He always had a goofy smile on his face. He was tall, lanky, with darker skin of Hispanic descent. His brown eyes seemed to bulge out of his head with dark circles around them. His head was shaved bald, and there was evidence of a receding hairline. And he had a sarcastic sense of humor. I heard rumors that he would wake up with a boner, which he was proud of, and walk around naked through the barrack hallways. Since Perkins was a washout, he spent most of his days watching movies, sleeping with girls, and waiting for his new job assignment. He used the stigma of being a combat controller, or at least the courage to try, to impress girls on the base and sleep with them, and it seemed to work. All he had to do was attach the name Combat Control. One Sunday morning, I felt a breaking point. I was growing tired of waiting around, watching guys continue on through the pipeline, and I was stuck hanging with a washout. Perkins walked into my room. He wasn't shy about hanging around on the floor with the actual combat controllers in training. "You want to get something to eat?" he said with a mouthful of some kind of sandwich open wide for me to see. I responded hatefully, "Fuck no. I can't stand sitting on my ass doing this bullshit anymore. I'm watching all these losers sitting around, and they are fine with it." Perkins knew I was passive-aggressively talking about him and all the other washouts. He just responded with a smile. "Dude, what's your problem?" as he spoke with his mouth still full of food. He was too laid back to take offense. "You're still in. You've got the look and the attitude. You're a badass. If anyone's going to make it, you are. But you're a grumpy motherfucker." All I could do was smile. As the weeks passed, I did tons of push-ups and sit-ups, along with pull-ups outside on the pull-up bars. I felt the motivation returning. I was concerned about losing my hard-earned fitness because it defined my identity. I was the guy that showed up to the course in amazing shape, and it got me recognition. I wasn't going to be on any record boards in the schoolhouse, but my skill was self-motivation and a determination to never quit. And I was solid at every exercise, even with my weakness of swimming. I had a persistent drive that I noticed many of the guys lacked in the course. They would try to find any possible way to get out of working out on their own, especially on the holiday breaks. I began to slowly put pressure on my leg, and eventually I could run a little bit at a time. First, only a few feet, and then gradually the distance increased. I ran until it hurt. I was slow, but I was actually running. Perkins was always encouraging me and helped me lift the mild depression I experienced. I spent many days in the day room, the big room with the TV and the ping pong table on our floor in the barracks, the same room where I was hazed with the large rocket fans, which seemed like a long time ago. There was a new class going through the course as I gradually healed from my injury. I knew what they were in for, and I was thankful I was safe behind the schoolhouse desk as the class was getting smoked outside on the workout mats. As I watched out the window, Sergeant Sampson walked through from the back office to the exit doors. His dark wavy hair was fixed just right. He looked like he was always about to say something funny. Sometimes he did, but other times he was just quiet. He looked at me. "What's up, McDonald?" I responded, "I'm just keeping this place running," as I stared at the phone that barely ever rang. Sergeant Sampson smiled. "Good. We need you to get to survival class coming up with this class. Survival class is easy. Just suck it up and get that done and then finish airborne." I felt my mood lift. "Hoo-yah, Sergeant!" It filled me with so much motivation, I almost jumped out of my seat. And I actually think I did. Knowing he believed in me, despite his distaste for so many trainees, made me feel awesome. He looked back at me again. "I'm going to go smoke some cones. Just another day," he said, with a serious look, but it made me chuckle. Sergeant Sampson loved to smoke cones. Every day the class and setback still in training were required to clean up the schoolhouse, take out the trash, mop the floors, and tidy up the instructor area at the end of the day. As Sergeant Sampson made his way outside to smoke the cones, I sat behind the desk and stared at the beret in the glass case, one that I might actually be able to obtain. For the team outside on the workout mats, the day was not over yet. The team had just hung on the pull-up bars for a long time, and then they were in the leaning rest, the up position of the push-up, back straight and arm straight. Sergeant Sampson was verbally squashing the team about how they were not working together or putting out. Guys were falling to the mat. They had been in that position for at least 10 minutes. Sergeant Perriente and Sergeant Sullivan were quietly bending down to tell the guys that dropped down to calmly suck it up and put out. Finally, Sergeant Sampson yelled, "Re-hover!" The team was desperately waiting for the command, "recover," which would bring them relief from the pain. The term recover meant they could jump up and stand at attention away from the pain. Half the team jumped up and looked confused. "Oh, shit. Attention to detail. Drop on down. I said re-hover," Sergeant Sampson yelled. Their faces told it all. It was pure disappointment. "We're going to be here all day. You will learn attention to detail," Sergeant Sampson yelled. After a thorough smoking, probably for nothing, the team came inside to clean the schoolhouse. I got onto my crutches and began helping. As I was cleaning a table with cleaning solution in the classroom, I met Martin. He was a bigger guy with a large shaved head. He looked super young, almost like a baby. He had a gap between his teeth when he grinned, and like Perkins, he always had a smile on his face. He was a country boy who reminded me of a friend across the field from my parents when I rode an ATV. He didn't look like much, but he was tough. He spent a lot of his childhood hunting and fishing and just spending time outdoors in Utah. And Martin loved Utah and hunting. He talked about it all the time. Although he was a rugged guy, he had the looks of a giant kid. He had no muscle definition at all, and his body looked like he was a developing teenager with skinny arms, big legs, and a giant shaved head. He barely had any peach fuzz on his face or body. Maybe that's how he swam so well. He was the complete opposite of myself in the looks department. I had a heavy beard, chest hair, prominent chin and nose, and an athletic body. Although he didn't look like much at all, Martin could outrun me with a rucksack on easily, and he swam like a fish. The instructors had a term for this type of strength. They called it tard strength. Martin used chewing tobacco, actually dip, all the time, and he offered me some chew while we were cleaning the table. He looked at me with a big wad of the stuff in his mouth. "You want some?" he asked. "No, I'm good, man," I said, trying to avoid the topic. I only tried dipping once, and it made me dizzy and sick to my stomach. I'd be going with Martin and the rest of his team to survival training up in Washington. They'd be my new team, as the others I knew before left me behind. I'd also travel to airborne school with them. to continue on with my training.